We see him on Saturdays, but it seems like
Well, I mean, that's what you see is what you get. I thought that run that he had, before I got here, I was watching for it. He kind of like spun around and got down on the hand, and that was pretty good too. His true freshman year. But I would say, you just watch the way he's blocking, and obviously he's very gifted with the ball in his hands. We've always known that, but then you just watch his full game and how he plays and how he runs routes and just the precision as he does his entire job, his job description. And he's playing at a very high level. And to watch the way he blocked against Maryland was, I took it into my room and said, God, this is how you finish plays. It's very reminiscent of how Zeke did things. And they're fast, it was physical, and it was a nasty demeanor behind it. So Curtis is playing really well.
You know that he's not even on the Blitkoff watch list?
Okay, he's on our stuff.
Yeah, I know. So that's the preeminent fourth wide receiver.
Yeah, well, that's, I don't know who votes for that, so we'll keep him.
I mean, is the way you guys are using him the way you envisioned using him coming?
Yeah, I think so. I think so, and obviously it's grown some, and but he's earned that, and he's earned that by the way he's played and his attention to detail. He's earned everything he's getting.
The injury that Mike Weber is dealing with, Tony, how painful is that for a running back? Is it just something that he's going to be able to play through, or is that something that concerns you when you're dealing
it's painful.
Yeah.
Listen, at this point in the season, everybody's got something going on, and it is painful. But he's managing it, and he'll continue to play. And listen, we got two big ones coming up, and this one really actually got one big one coming up. So there's not a whole lot of motivation. I know a lot of guys at this time of year throughout the country, and every team has guys that are banged up at this time and sore and nicked up, but that's part of college football.
And the fact that he's been able to play through it and play well, that's got to be a good sign. I know Carlos Hyde has a similar injury. It might be a little bit more serious, the sprained AC joint. He was out for 2 games for the 49ers. I think it says a lot that Mike Weber's able to play through that. And,
well, he's a tough kid. No, I know you don't question his toughness, and so he's a tough kid, and we manage him through practice, through the week, and then when it comes time to play, we go play, and so he's been good about it. He's been good.
When did that light come on for him, though, about the blocking aspect of things? Because he seems to be one of those guys who's blocking well on the edge. Some lead plays and things like that. When do you remember it coming on for him?
Well, he was doing a lot of that when we redshirted. Yeah. So he has.
Was that a carryover from Zeke, too?
I think it's really, like I said, there's a culture that's been established in that room, and Mike was able to see what that looked like.
Yeah.
While Zeke was here, but he was doing that, and.
Is there a sense of getting better at that too, though? He seems to have a pretty good timing on
when to throw his
on when to
and things like that. I think that's part of it. Just kind of knowing when to deliver shots, and that's kind of a timing thing. And the more you do it, the better you get at it, obviously. And but there's still room for improvement. So, but yeah, Mike's a tenacious football player. He's a tough guy.
And with that, in that regard, Demario McCall got in the game a little earlier this time. Do you see him coming on more and more as this season goes on, even though there's 2 games left in the regular season?
I see him getting better, if that's the question you're asking.
Yeah, but do you see him playing more?
Oh, well, I don't know. Game dictate that, and we'll see. So I don't know if that's.
But is that sort of a bonus for a team to have a young guy coming along? He figured. I would think he factors more into your plans now than he did 6 weeks ago.
Absolutely. Because you're gaining more trust and more faith in it. Yeah. And so he is. He's earned that, and he's earned that through his practice time and his practice habits, and we're obviously continue to try to improve those things. But he's becoming much more comfortable in the game, in the college football game, as the season's progressed, and he would be the first to tell you that. It's kind of like drinking out of a fire hose when he first got here the first couple of weeks, and now he's getting better at it, and he's obviously gained some weight. He's gained quite a bit of weight, which has obviously helped him as well. So we'll see where he goes, but he's getting better. He's improving.
Have you ever thought of in Michigan State's defense?
Physical, as always. It's the same defense that they've been doing for quite a while, and maybe some different faces and names, but the same type of tenacious play and toughness, and they know what they're doing. They're coached well. They're sound. So yeah, very good defense.
You talk about different faces even week to week for those guys just because of their injuries and whatnot. Yeah. How hard is it to get a grasp on personnel?
Well, again, they are who they are, and they do what they do, and they do it well. So it's kind of, I don't know if you want to use the term birds on a fence, but they all play pretty well. They play hard and gritty, and that's a culture that Antonio set up there as well.
But they definitely went through some growing pains defensively this year. I mean, they were 0-6 in the Big Ten, but until last week. I mean, what is it that they've been dealing with from what you've seen on video?
I can't tell you what they're dealing with. If you want to know that, you need to go up there and ask them. I know what we're dealing with on a weekly, daily basis.
But I mean, I guess what I'm asking is, do you expect?
Listen. I expect they're going to play hard. They're going to play sound. They're going to undoubtedly play their best football.
Yeah.
With us coming in there, so that's what we expect.
Regarding DeMario, he didn't enroll early. He was a guy that had to learn the playbook in a hurry. Does that make what he's been able to do even more impressive? And how long did it take him to kind of learn the playbook, Tony?
Still learning. He's still learning. But I would say probably it started to click for him a little bit more. I'd probably say about week 5. Before he really started kind of, because at first those things are starting to sound the same. You think you have this concept down, and you go to this concept, and then we throw this concept in, and all of a sudden it all starts to blend together, and all the signals are coming in at a high rate of speed, going fast. So, but I'd say about week 5, it started to really seemed for him, from watching him and just listening to him talk, and when we were in meetings and get on the board and go through some things, that he started to truly start to grasp it. What was going on about week 5.
Tony, as you look at your, you've got Mike Weber. Then do you have Curtis Samuel, or as you start looking at your group, do you have Demario McCall? Then who do you have?
Well, Antonio Williams is still in there.
Antonio Williams, but he's been banged up, right?
He's been banged up, and he's been nicked up.
I guess you see where I'm going. What is sort of the pecking order in your running back deal as you look at it right now?
Well, I would say just what you're saying. Curtis is obviously going to go in when we need to, and he's doing so many. He's a multi-faceted guy. But then it's Demario. Demario, then Antonio.
Yeah, Antonio.
Could Antonio redshirt?
No, that's not the plan.
Is Demario, have there been discussions with using him as a returner? I know he had some success there in high school. I know
and he's returned some this year.
Right, yeah. Paris is doing well.
Yeah, Paris is doing well, and Demario has gone in and caught a couple punts, and so that's it's good recruiting when you got guys that can do it. You got numbers of guys and multitude of guys.
How often is Curtis in your room for meetings?
Not very often at all.
He's just a stellar student.
He's a smart football player.
Yeah.
Extremely smart. And so when I need to meet with him and get with him, I do. And it might not always be in a team meeting or in a position meeting setting, but if I need to get to him for something, I certainly can.
You mentioned it's not the plan to redshirt Antonio. I know he's played in one game, hasn't played since, and Coach Meyer says he's dealing with a shoulder.
Yep.
Even if the plan is not to redshirt him, is there a chance you guys could redshirt him if he doesn't play again this year, just to get that extra year out of him?
If he can play, we'll play. And again, that's all just game time, game day decisions, how things are going. To say we have a concrete plan. Hey, we're going to go do this. No, we haven't said that like that.
Is there any worry with Mike that he could make that worse, or is it just something he just has to deal with?
Something got to deal with.
So you can't further the injury.
No, he's going to be fine. It's just and hopefully he'll feel a little better this week. Didn't take a lot of shots on it last week, so hopefully he'll feel a little bit better. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and again we'll continue to manage him through it. And listen, man, we got. It's a huge game for us.
Yeah.
So whatever it takes, whatever it takes, we go.
When you bring in a guy like Demario into a game like this past weekend where he plays most of the second half,
Yes, sir.
does the playbook shrink? You mentioned
No.
he didn't know.
No.
He's still learning things.
No.
So you can run everything with
We
him.
can run it all. With
Okay.
him. And when I say he's still learning things, I'm just talking about just the finite details of things.
Okay.
And no, it doesn't shrink. We want to run what we run, and that's why we got to coach him. And he is coached just as hard and as vigorous as the next guy. And so, well, he's a backup, so we're not going to run this. We're not doing that.
Tony, it seems like more questions for Coach. It seems like Mike has found maybe different things to add to his game. Weekly, we see him like as a lead blocker for Curtis on some sweeps. The pass blocking you talked about, he's more involved in the passing game. And I know guys want to improve all the time, but maybe how far along is Mike maybe in the progression of where you thought he'd be at this point? Yeah.
He's on track.
Yeah.
He's on track, and you got to understand that the guys that preceded him. So there's a what's the word I'm looking for? there's an expectation of how that position's going to play, and if you're going to be the starting tailback at the Ohio State University, you better hurry and get to that level. And obviously, we're always trying to improve and reestablish what the bar is, if you will. But Mike's coming along, and he's grown up very, very quickly. He's grown into this position, but again, it goes back. He loves to play this game now. He likes football, and so it's not hard to get him to say, hey, just go do this. And I think anybody, when you're having some success, any human being, when you're having some success, hopefully that's just to keep you going. Say, man, I'm doing this and it's working, so let's continue to work at that rate of speed.
It seems like he's, I mean, even though it's so far into the season and he's injured, he's finding ways to like pull away from guys now and be a little more elusive, and he's doing stuff in the passing game too. I'm just wondering maybe if his athleticism is, I mean, you guys recruited him, so you know what kind of athlete he was, but has he surprised you at all with some of the things he's done?
You know, I think he's gotten a little faster, but I think he shaved some of that weight when he first got here. You know, I don't want to call him fat, but I'll call him fat. No, I'm playing. But no, I think he's shaved down some of the weight and slimmed down a little bit, but he's also gotten faster with it and gotten stronger. So obviously that's benefited him.
As you mentioned, like all running backs are dealing with injuries this time of the year. Zeke played the entire national championship season basically with one hand. What's maybe an injury that you went through that you can like talk to your guys like, hey, I was dealing with this when I played. Do you ever talk about have those conversations? Like I imagine that would make
the AC joint thing.
You had the same thing, huh?
I had 2 of them. So I mean, broken hands. You go. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, if you can go, you find a way to go. So yeah, I mean, I dealt with those obviously many years ago. But for me to say to compare what I did and what they did, these guys are so much further along and so much better players than I ever thought of being. It's probably not even fair for me to compare it. That's kind of a slug compared to these cats. But
does it make it a little easier though to like? I would think it would make it easier for you to go to them. You've been through it. Just
yeah, I would think so. But you'd have to ask them that. I mean, there's when we run something, I've either as a coach or player, I've probably done it 1,000 more times. Through the years, but you'd have to ask them if that's a benefit to them for me having played the position. But I've coached it for a long time, and so I mean, I when they say things to me, I can see where they're coming from with some things, But the fact of the matter is, we got to go do what we got to go do.
Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it.
Coach,
We good?
Inside,
Thanks a lot.
Great.
Thanks.